Hello and welcome to this video on the visa, residence and visitors permit. This video aims to try to explain how the visa and residence permit features work and how you can work with them. I've selected India for this section, and keep in mind that this is on a test page, so it will not reflect what is in or on India's page at the moment. I've chosen India because it's a large country and has a lot of different settings in their visa and residence section, so I'll be able to show you a lot about the differences and possibilities. But first, the visa and residence permit is part of central content features. That's why it's selected under the special versions or special setups, and it's because there's a lot of different rules and regulations attached to it. It's used by UDI, the police, the Norwegian police, and a lot of other companies like VFS and other. So if we just focus over to the structure area, you can see that all the sections have the purple arrow attached to it. That means that it's part of a central content feature. That also means that you get the fetch content text at the top and remove fetch content button. You cannot remove any of these buttons, so if you want to get out of the central content features, you will have to create a case at ICT, and me or another colleague will open it up for you. It comes with a lot of questions on why and what are you going to do, and so on and so forth. The visa and residence permit section is usually decided or texted from the local section here in Oslo that pertains to visa and residence permits. We have about 4 or 5 different versions of it. There's a basic version and there's a couple of special versions where we had to change the basic text to fit the local settings or local laws. Most of you can keep the basic text, and of course I'm going to show you all of this when we walk through it. We're going to start with the visa, and then we'll go over to the residence permit, because most of the text is the same and most of the setups are the same, so we're just going to skim through them. First, we'll start with the visa and residence permit section. The first text at the top here is part of the central content text. It's not much, but it's enough for us to cover almost 90% of our missions. The text in this case, in New Delhi's case, is added by the mission. It's called local content or additional content, and it allows the embassy to add more specific text to the central process. After that, the system automatically lists the content within the section. And in this case, it's only 2 articles or 2 smaller sections, which are visitor visa and residence permit. It's possible, if you need to add more sections here, and they will automatically be listed. Beneath that, you have a central content link to the Schengen countries' definitions, and beneath that, you can add your own link content. In this case, you have VFS, you have EU visa code, common information sheet, etc., etc. It's all up to you what you want to add to this section. A normal user would find the web page via search or whatever, and they will either enter here or they will enter in this area, depending on what they're searching for. So let's skip down to visitor's visa. Visitor's visa is based on the same. As you can see, the yellow bar is still here and the purple arrow is still in place. The structure of both visa and residence are basically the same. The content is also basically the same, and the local added content is what differs. So let's start. Basic or central content at the top, and the embassy content beneath, and then this goes on for the entire area. So let's see how we can edit this. We can start with the top section again. As you can see, there's no places for me to edit. There's no blue lines. There's nothing that I can apparently do. That's because in these sections you have to go over to all properties view, and you do that by clicking the bullet button at top right corner. When you enter the all properties mode, you get to add additional content. You can disregard everything else. The only thing you need to focus on is the additional content field. And as you can see, this is where the embassy has added its content. They could have added more content. They can add lists or whatever they want to add here. No problem at all. You can also add videos and images, links, whatever you need to get the point through. You can also add additional links. And if we go back to the page again, you can see that I've added some content now. And the link box at the bottom is what the mission has added to the bottom of the page. So the point of the central content with the local content, it's that it meshes together to create a specific local and law-abiding content. So we handle the text which is harder to get across with more of the, I don't know, a little bit more vague or precise depending on the section information, and you provide the local content. The local specific, the country specific, the whatever area specific content. So I just added some information now, clicking publish, and if this was on the production servers, this would now be online. You can go back and click on it. You can see I've just added some content to it. You can also edit the blocks in the same way that you do everywhere else. Add content, do whatever you want here. This goes for the entire section. So if we go back to the on-page view again, you can see nothing has changed from what it was. Go down to visitor visa. Visa has the same options. You can scroll down, you can see all the numbers, you can see all the checkboxes, you can click on them if they are there. You can add buttons, you can add links, you can add titles and subtitles. You can do a lot of stuff here, and it's important that you do it with some sense of structure. Remember, a person who is reading this have no clue on what to do, have no clue on where to start. Nothing is apparent, and it's always important to use basic and understandable language. So let's start. The one thing that is important to understand on this page, the visitor visa section page and the residence permit page, is that it displays all the information of the sections beneath it. So if you look at the structure on the right and the left hand side, you can see that before you apply, gather the necessary documentation is added underneath visitor's visa. And if we scroll down, you can see that number 1 is before you apply, as shown in the structure. Number 2 is gather the necessary documentation, as shown in the structure. If I were to rearrange these articles, just move this one to the top, which is more than possible, the section should change the numbers, because the system doesn't understand which is what number. It just gives the first article at the top the first number. So now before you apply is number 2. So it's important to just keep this structure as it is set up for you, and don't rearrange around in what is where. It's not a big issue for the user, because the user probably only visits your web page, because it's going to Norway, it will not visit Pakistani or Afghanistan web page, so it won't see the difference here. But for us who manage the system, and for you who learn via the articles, it's much more important or easier to understand the system if the system is standard to everyone else's, or especially the learning videos. So just leave them as they are. So let's start editing. And we start editing by doing the same thing as we did before. We go to all properties. And now you also see the additional content field with the ingress, the main body, and links and accordions. Just disregard everything else. There's no point in you clicking on those. If you want to have a look, just have a look, but there's no point in doing it. You can add different information, and once again you're adding this information to the visitor visa section, not the articles below, and you cannot edit the articles below either. So let's go add some information here. Whoops, caps. Not that anybody cares. Got an error message, so we can just go and check the article out. See that? Okay, my information is added, and this is how you add content to the page. Now let's edit one of the sub articles added to the visa section. Let's go to before you apply. Once again, you see the yellow box. This is fetch content from our central services, and we have to go to all properties to edit them. You won't see the text at the top, and probably in these cases there are no central content. It's just that we've added all the articles to the central content field, because if we add or want to add information to this field, we can do so to every mission at once. We don't have to go into every one and add or ask you to add information to it. That's the whole point of the central content, and if you leave that there, that will be nice for the future editors. So the content added to before you apply is in this case just the in order to apply field. From this one off, the mission has added their content, and this could be blocks, this could be images, this could be links, this could be anything relevant for the person applying to a visa permit. And this is, as you can see, before you apply a feature. The same thing goes for every other page type underneath both the visitor visa and residence permit area. As you can see here, they've added a block to it. Let's see how that looks. A lot of blocks actually, and let's see, you can preview by clicking the preview button, and you can see the content. Oh, come on. No, it doesn't want to play with me. You're supposed to do that. And add content to it however you want to add the content. Click publish and keep on going down. Same thing for everyone. And that's about it on editing. Now, if you have a special process, or if you have a process from many countries, or you process based on many countries, you can create the same section, or we can have the same section in many languages. We can have the same section in Norwegian for English-speaking web page like India, if it's necessary. We can also have French in English, and so on and so forth. The most important thing is that if you need to change anything in the section which is not available to you, please don't remove or try to delete and create the content once more. Just leave it as is and ask the web desk or ICT service desk for help. There's a reason that it's there. There's a reason that it's built this way, and that's basically a good reason for me to say to stay away from this and just add the text and blocks and information that you need. Thank you.